Meriwether County Board of Commission regular meeting for October the 22nd at 6 p.m. This time, we would like to ask someone to stand for our invocation.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another day that you've given us. As always, we just thank you that we have the opportunity to come together to take care of the business of the county. We thank you for all those who are in attendance tonight. And dear Lord, as we always do, we just ask that you guide our thoughts, our minds, our hearts as we make decisions, that we look out for the best interest of the county. We ask now that you be with everyone who is here tonight as they travel back home. We just ask that you give them a safe trip. And we pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone has an agenda. If not, there are agendas on the vestry when you come in. At this time, I'd like to get a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented. So moved. Is there a second? Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Hadley and second by Commissioner Gray. I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Carries. Next item is the minutes from our regular meeting that was on October the 9th. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look over those minutes. I'd like to get a motion that we adopt the minutes as presented. So there was a motion by Commissioner McCoy and second by Commissioner Hadley. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the work session that was held on October the 9th at 6 p.m. Once again, hopefully you've had a chance to read over those minutes. If there's any corrections or any comment, if not, I'd like to ask for a vote that we accept it as it's been presented.
Madam Chair, there are need for change on page 2 and page 3. We have the name of Nell Lucas. It's actually Nell Wilkins. So just to have that name change.
Any other corrections we've seen on the minutes? If not, I'd like to ask for a motion that we accept the minutes with the corrections of the name that was presented to us.
So
Is there a second? Second. Okay, there was a motion by Commissioner Threadgill and second by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is municipal comments. So we want to recognize those mayors and city councilmen from the different cities. Mayor Glover from Greenville. Thank you. Thank you. And I understand we have Mayor Pro Tem from Warm Springs, Ms. Robin. I saw you in here earlier. Hi. You have anything you want to share? Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate having the representation from Warm Springs. Any other municipality? I don't want to overlook anyone. I don't think so. We're glad to have you. The next item is on the agenda is the Constitution officers' comments. I know I saw someone from the Sheriff Department. You're good? All right. Any other Constitution officers? All right. All right. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is department heads' comments. So I know we're going to limit some of it because of the No, all right, thank you, Skip.
I'm speaking on behalf of Carolyn McKinley, President of the Chamber of Commerce, who would like to invite everyone to the Meriwether Menu Covered Bridge Dinner on November the 2nd. And I have copies of it for all of you. Pass those around. She would like to have a good turnout for that. We're going to have entertainment and good food, and so everybody is interested in attending, may contact the Chamber of Commerce. She also wanted to let you know that Walmart Distribution Center donated $5,000 to the FIRST Foundation, F-E-R-S-T, FIRST, which the money will be used for the children's books that are distributed throughout Meriwether County. So we're very proud of that also. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them if I can. If not, you can call Carol.
Thank you. Oh, we can can just pass them out to the audience for those people. And the other department heads. So Kathy, you would just come up when we have our public hearing, okay? There's so many beautiful faces, I don't want to overlook anyone. I think that's it. Oh, the chief, I'm sorry. Well, you're wearing so many robes today.
I wouldn't dare bring this up, but since I've dropped this ball so many times before, I just wanted to say that we're really excited about our groundbreaking next Monday on the 28th. So I just couldn't let you catch me in another situation where I dropped that ball. So that's all I want to mention. We're very excited about opening up the stations on this side of the county. We kind of have a void there, so it's very exciting for us to get that momentum going.
Would you, and so that the citizens can you tell them where the groundbreaking's going to be?
In Woodbury and at Cove Road and LL Rebel, for lack of a better name, we call it up to the backside of the Federal Golf Course. So it's going to be great representation on this side of the county.
And what day is that?
28th, Monday the 28th at 2 for Woodbury and 3 o'clock for the Cove Road side, or Cove Road side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it backwards. It's
You're
2
welcome.
o'clock at Pebble Brook.
I'm sorry.
Definitely appreciate it. We do extend everyone the invitation to come out on the groundbreaking of both of these. Anyone else? I don't think there's anyone else. If not, appreciate bringing us up to date on that. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it is in reference to a cell tower. So at this time, I'd like for a motion that we go into public hearing for case number 17.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. There's been a motion by Commissioner Threadgill and second by Commissioner Bray for us to go into public hearing for case number 17. And Kathy, can I get a vote for this? All those in favor? Okay, vote carries. Thank you. So, Ms. Kathy?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I apologize ahead of time. I've got a cough that is just absolutely crazy, so if I have to excuse myself for that, I do apologize ahead of time. Tonight, we're presenting case number 17. This is Buddy Robinson and Mr. Clay Brogdon on behalf of Southern Link. They are representatives for Randall J. Crawford, map and parcel reference 14172. They are requesting a special use permit for the installation of a cell phone tower. The property is located on 65.18 acres at 324 Plum Drive in Gay, Georgia. The current zoning is LDR, which will allow for cell phone towers with the approval of a special use permit. The proposed 100 by 100 foot tower site will be accessed by easement off of Garner Road through Plum Drive under a lease agreement and will contain a 400 foot guide wire tower. This particular tower site is located in Commissioner McCoy's district. As usual, we do ask for certain conditions to be met in order to give an approval for a special use permit on a tower. You have the list of those in the past. They're pretty much the same, but I will run through them as quickly as possible. But I would like to tell you that these gentlemen have been very kind to actually respond to each of these conditions in writing, so I will tell you what they've already agreed to. The first thing the applicant is to reserve a space on the tower for the installation of Meriwether County communication equipment at no cost for the county public safety and emergency responders. They have already offered to reserve a 20-foot vertical space at a height on the tower between 350 and 370 feet. The access to this piece of property is through the private easement to the actual site, which is off of Plum Drive. The emergency 24-hour, 365-day per year contact information to be provided will be done by the actual company that will be doing the tower, which is TowerCom. The tower site fall zone is no less than 400 feet from all the property lines. The easement access will have a secure gate to prevent any kind of unauthorized traffic coming into the property. The buffer required of not less than a 20-foot base width consisting of approved plantings plus a fence. Prior to the development, the buffer plan should be required to show the types and locations of all. They have already presented that to us in their site plans, and they do conform to our condition. The chain link fencing shall be installed around the entire 100 by 100 perimeter of the leased area covered under the special use permit. The fence shall be a minimum of 6 feet in height and an additional 3 rows of barbed wire at top. The fence shall have green or black slats or vinyl covering approved by Meriwether County Building and Zoning. They are agreeing to install fencing. Typically, they say they put it around the 60 by 60 area within the 100 and 100 compound and landscape outside of that. They are in agreement to do the fencing, and we just need to, get the fine points on that. I have no issue with fencing that, but as long as the area 100 by 100 is covered with the landscaping and the fencing combined. They also are in agreement to put fencing with barbed wire at the top around each of the areas where the guy wires are coming down to the different pieces of property. If the facility is damaged in any material manner, repairs will be made promptly upon notice to the tower owner, which will be the TowerCom, and they will respond immediately in those situations. If the facility is inoperable for a period of 12 consecutive months, the facility shall be removed at the applicant owner's expense and property restored to pre-development condition to 36 inches below grade. They will comply, but they feel there may be a subsoil condition problem, but they will do as we ask if we go to the 3 feet. The applicant shall provide Meriwether County Building and Zoning with a plan for removal and restoration of property at the end of the life. Again, TowerCom, the developer, will actually take care of doing that when they apply for the building permit. Grass, brush, and other vegetative growth shall be maintained at all times for the life of the operation. They understand, and they will add those to the instructions on the site plans at the time they do the building permit. Special use permit shall allow use of property for 1 telecommunication tower. The tower height shall not exceed the permitted height of 400 feet, and they are in agreement with that, and it is a single 400-foot guide wire tower. Any required or planned lighting shall be established so that adjacent properties and roadways are not adversely affected, and to preclude glare onto or direct illumination of adjacent properties and streets. If strobe lighting is required by FAA, dual light system shall be used, and they will comply. A final inspection by structural engineer licensed in the state of Georgia shall be submitted to the Building and Zoning Director prior to the Building Department's final inspection of the completed facility. The developer, tower developer, TowerCom, will comply. The applicant shall submit a pre-development site plan indicating the buffer grading and erosion and soil control for the site. Again, the developer will do that upon getting their building permit. They must meet all local, state, and federal regulations governing the telecommunication towers in which they are in agreement. The FAA determination of no hazard to air navigation letter must be presented to the Building and Zoning Director. It already has been presented. I received it back on August the 19th, so they have complied with that request. At this time, I've given you the information on the special use permits, as well as a little background on the information, and the Office of Planning and Development does recommend approval of this site.
Thank you. For the public hearing in regarding to zoning, the county's guidelines is for zoning, you have 15 minutes to speak on it. Each side will have a total of 15 minutes to talk, those that are for it and those that are against it. And then you'll have 5 minutes for rebuttal. That's away from the 15 minutes. So for those who would like to speak one way or the other, we ask that you come up to the podium and sign your name. There's a part on there that you'll check off to say where you for it or oppose it, so that when we call you up, we'll know where you stand. So once again, for this, because it's a zoning matter, and under our guidelines, it says it's a total of 15 minutes for each side, and then 5 minutes for rebuttal. So at this time, I'll get the list of those. For the applicant to come up and speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Clay Brogdon. I'm the recently retired manager of site acquisition for Southern Link. Southern Link has since engaged me as an independent consultant to represent them in all zoning and permitting matters at this time. And I normally have a short presentation that I like to make, but I think I'm not going to do that. And I want to be a good steward of your time. It looks like y'all got a lot of business going on tonight, and I didn't see anybody that's in opposition to what we want to do. Certainly, the county's planning staff is in favor of this. The county's planning commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to this board for final approval. And we also met with the Citizens for Action of Meriwether County, and we had their approval of the project as well. So I think I'm going to defer the rest of my time and just respond if there is opposition that I'm not aware of at that time. And I'd like to answer any questions that you might have as well.
Thank you. Does any board members have any questions to Mr. Clay? If not, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. The next person on the agenda to speak is Ms. Catherine Jenkins.
Yes, I'll just be brief. Good evening, Commissioners. So I just wanted to say that I am for having a cell tower out here. And although I would love to be somewhere else on this night, the reason why we need a cell tower came to light when I was on a phone call with my sister just this earlier today, and she's in North Georgia, and it's a lot more mountainous up there, and they have sketchy cell phone reception. But she's going up to Chattanooga to see my aunt who was involved in a car accident, and it was a pretty bad car accident. And so she dropped the call. We didn't have a good connection, so we lost touch. And then going back to my aunt's car accident, I actually lost my uncle. My uncle died this past weekend, and I'll be going up to Dalton later. But with their accident, they were in an area that had reduced cell phone coverage, and they were lucky that they had a Good Samaritan that showed up when they did. They were on a rural road, kind of like the roads that we have here. And cell phone coverage is just something we have got to have. It's just a safety, it's just a priority, and I hope that this board will vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for your loss. The next person on the list that shows is Mr. Ronnie Hurd.
Good evening, everyone. Ronnie Hurd, Alton, Georgia. I just want to read and then present a letter from our citizens group to the Madam Chair. Our group had a presentation by Buddy Robinson, a representative for Southern Link, on the proposed Alberton Communication Tower to be located off of Highway 362, etc. on October 3rd. This presentation was very informative and helped us all understand in our group just what poor coverage we have in this area. Ironically, Mr. Gay and I were discussing this T-Splosh presentation that same night on our cell phones when we lost connection, demonstrating just what poor service we have on Highway 362 between Alberton and Greenville. This tower would be a great benefit not only for local residents, but for emergency management of this area and for our county's use. All good stuff. Bottom line, our citizens group approve of this tower and would love to see it come to fruition. If we can discuss this further and be of any other help, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't have anyone else named on the list, but if there's anyone else that would like to speak at this time regarding this matter, please let us know. You can come up, give us your name, and please sign this form for or against it. No one else? Thank you. Beverly Allison.
Madam Chair, I just have one question. This tower is for Southern Link.
Correct.
If a cell phone company wants to, they'll have to buy space on it like Verizon or something. I just don't want people to think that it's going to be them automatically.
Sure,
They will have to
yeah, I
buy
understand,
space.
and you're exactly right on.
Okay.
Southern Link, we're going to be the anchor tenant on that tower. We certainly have a need there, and we want to improve our coverage there. And we do sell to the public as well as to government agencies as well, too. But we will then begin, or TowerCom, the tower developer, will immediately begin trying to market that tower to Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint.
I just wanted to make sure they knew it wasn't an automatic thing that they will be on there.
That's
Hopefully
exactly
they
right.
will
You
sign
are
on.
right on, and that's a good point. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. All right. Any other board members have any questions or comments at this time before we come out of public hearing? If not, Beverly, I'd like to submit this back to you for our record. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to get a motion that we come out of the public hearing.
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Thrigill and a second by Commissioner Hadley. We're going to come in out of public hearing. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We are now out of public hearing. So at this time, we would like to get a motion on the floor regarding this matter.
Madam Chair, it's my district. I move that we grant the special use permit for installation of the cell tower.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner McCoy and second by Commissioner Threadgill. Is there any other discussion on this matter before we cast a vote?
Madam Chair, before you cast the vote, I just want to remind y'all that telecom are regulated partially by the federal government, and that even though they allow for zoning, to continue to preserve zoning, that they do have a heightened standard when it comes to denial. So the standard is a substantial evidence if you were to choose to deny it. You'd have to submit that in a written record. I just want to make sure that's clear before you issue it.
Once again, any more discussion before we ask for a vote? There's been a motion on the floor and second. At this time, the motion is to accept the cell tower. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the application number 3, roadway abandonment petition for section of Oakland Road from the intersection of Beaver Lake Road to White Oak Creek, approximately 1.7 miles. I'd like to get a motion that we go back into public hearing to hear this case.
So moved.
All right, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Threadgill and second by Commissioner Bray. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote that we go back in public hearing. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Kathy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to, at this time, turn this part of the public hearing over to Mr. Gay. He's actually got a presentation to give to y'all for this. But this is the application number 3. It's the unopened area of Oakland Road, beginning at, it's actually the intersection of Beaver Lake Road and Oakland Road, all the way through to White Oak Creek. We've already gone over all the information. I've provided that at the previous meeting. So at this time, I'd like to, with your permission, pass this over to Mr. Gay for the actual presentation on tonight's discussion.
And before Karen starts to speak, once again, it's for this part of the public, for this is not a zoning, but this is just a regular public hearing. We are allowing a total of 15 minutes, and that's for each side, and then 5-minute rebuttal for each side. So for those who would like to speak, please come up and sign your name and total. So depending on how many people's names are on that list, that's how we're going to know how many minutes you have, unless you want to yield some time to someone else. So is anyone, I know there's people who came in late, so if there's anyone like to speak on this matter and you've not had a chance to sign, please come up at this time and sign your name on the list.
Chairman, as we get started, if I could ask Mr. Hill just to kind of review the law and our ordinance on the road closure, just where everybody will understand what we're looking at here tonight.
Madam Chair, this is is both regulated by the state, and we have our own ordinance on this, on road abandonments. The procedure under the state does call for when it's determined that a section of the county road system has for any reason ceased to be used by the public to the extent that it serves no substantial public purpose, or that its removal is in the county systems, is otherwise, from the county system is otherwise in the best interest of the public, then you can vote to abandon a road. From the county standpoint, we have added some criteria for the board to consider. There are 9 items that were listed in the ordinance that we passed. And those are, do all property owners who live or own property on the roadway propose for closure agree with the closure? Does the road continue to serve a substantial public purpose or is closure otherwise in the best interest, which again tracks the state law language? Does the closure of the roadway create a situation where any property owner, other than the requesting party, is limited to only one means of ingress or egress? We've seen that in a number of road closures before. Is the roadway commonly used as a shorter access route to other roadways? If so, does the closure create any undue hardship on the traveling public? Does the course of roadway impact the delivery of emergency services to the general public? Does the cost of maintaining the road section exceed the amount of funding received from GDOT, LMIG, and any other sources for maintenance of the road? Does the road abandonment prevent access to family cemeteries? If so, will any access easement be provided? Meriwether County shall request input from the Sheriff's Office, All Public Safety, E911, Public Works, and consider any comments received from the department in making its decision, and any additional information that's important to the determination of the closure of the road should be considered by the board. That's essentially the framework that you're working under for determining whether or not an application for road abandonment should be granted or not.
Thank you. All right, at this time, Mr. Gay, you're going to present, and I do want to also say this before Mr. Gay speaks. We did have some citizens who said they wanted to do a presentation as far as with a slide presentation. And it's been brought to my attention that anytime you want to do that, you would have to contact the county at least a week prior to that. So for those who wanted to have a slide, a disc, and you wanted to put it in, it's just been informed to me that you would have to do that prior to the meeting. So for those who unfortunately wanted to do that, I do apologize that that is our rule, and so I do apologize you're not able to do that this evening. Okay, at this time, I do notice a total of 8 people have signed up, 6 opposed closing the road, and 2 in favor. And once Mr. Theron gives his presentation, then you'll have the opportunity to speak. Theron, you have the floor.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. You're here tonight, of course, to further discuss a request to close a section of Oakland Road.
Theron, yeah.
I'm sorry. If I start singing, y'all stop. We're here tonight, of course, to further discuss the request to close a section of Oakland Road. And that Oakland Road section, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The Oakland Road section is from Beaver Lakes Road to the intersection of Oakland Road with White Oak Creek, as Kathy had Johnson mentioned further, initially. The last time this issue was discussed, the board directed the county staff to review the bridge that's on the road section, discuss the possibility of cost of reconstruction, and see if any GDOT funding was available. Staff has completed that review, and we're prepared to provide you with that information and report tonight. And we can cover the information that was previously requested on the road and all of that, but that has been previously requested by the board, and in the essence of time, unless the board wants to do that, I'm not going to go back into the issue of the road, the maintenance costs, the right-of-way, and all those things associated with that, unless the board wants me to do that.
Excuse me, we'll just verify, does any of the board members need to hear that? No? Okay, that's fine, go right ahead.
Okay, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Let's go ahead, we'll go ahead then and we'll look at the presentation. And I appreciate Skip, we've kind of moved around a little bit to get everything set up for tonight. The first slide, and I'm going to go through this real quickly, is a USGS quadrangle map. This indicates the elevation and contours, and you can see in the area near the bridge. I don't think this is going to work on the screen. You can see the area near the bridge. I put a little star where the bridge is. It's kind of low, and of course you would expect it to be that with it being a creek basin. Okay. The next one is the road approaching the bridge, and I think this picture was taken in July, I think of 2019. This is the road going in. Now this section of roadway starts right here. This is Weaver Park Road. So this is not the Oakland Road from Beaver Lake. This is the Oakland Road from the section of Weaver Park Road. So this is going into where the bridge is, which is here. So that is the slide. Here's just another picture of the road in. Certainly needs some maintenance, has been cut. This is sort of the end of the road as it looks as if it's a road structure. There's some gravel area there, and I think there was a little bit of water standing there on the day that was taken. I think it was back in July as well. The next one is the trail to the end of the bridge, and that's pretty good. It says October. I think that was actually in July as well. someone had cut the road and the vegetation had cleared out some by the time October come around. Now here's October, and you can see this is sitting in the end of the roadway, and the little trail that you see there in the middle is going up to the bridge beams that are across the creek. You'll notice there's a log there as well. It's got to across the roadway, across the trailway. Here's just another shot of that. Here a little bit closer shot of the access trail. Here in the background you can see the beams that are there to the bridge. And I want to point this out because in all the discussion of this, I don't think anyone's really pointed out that there's a couple of rock walls on both sides of the bridge approach going up if you're headed east. And while I don't think that anything you really see with the bridge beam is historical, these are kind of a historical, item that's there. You can see various pictures of them. We'll try to get them a little closer here. Skip, don't know what I did, buddy. There we go. There's another close-up of the rock wall. You can see where they were stacked. Old rock wall, again, approaches to the bridge. More shots of the wall. The wall is actually on both sides, and I think it served as, again, kind of the approach. This is the bridge itself. It is 8 I-beams. The I-beams are 3 feet tall by 1 foot, approximately 90 foot of span across the creek. Another shot of the beams. These are really heavy-duty beams, and I'll go into the report here in just a moment. Again, just another look and view of the I-beams spanning the creek. This is White Oak Creek looking east. These are attached on one side. I don't know about the other. I've not been there, but they're attached with bolts into the bridge foundation. Let's see. Bridge up. Skip, I think we've got a malfunction again, baby. All right. Okay, well, let's see. Back it up. Let me go back to my just my printout here. Always you convert back to paper when technology doesn't work. The next few maps that I had here to show was just really the FEMA maps showing the flood zone. I'd highlighted the flood zone on some other maps. Naturally, it's in a low area. There is about a 2,500 or so foot span there where the road enters the 100-year floodplain, crosses the bridge, and then continues. There we go. That's there again. That's the FEMA map, and the bridge location is right there where the road comes up. Here is the map, flood zone with Oakland Road. This is a 100-year flood. There again, you can see just a little better shot of it. The creek is right there. Shoot you with a beam. Right there in the middle. Here again, a little bit closer, you can see the creek coming down. And some of the area around naturally would have some evidence of past flooding on the road into there. Again, another just evidence of past flooding. Same here. Again, some more evidence. You see some of the debris kind of washed up there. Again, deposits of silt and sand. And then this is the road leaving out. So that's what we really had. And I wanted to just kind of go through and give you some of the specifics that we've also talked about on this road. In reviewing the request for closure of the road, the commissioners had asked for a review of the old bridge structure on Oakland Road at White Oak Creek. And on September the 30th this year, Georgia Department of Transportation, their chief bridge engineer, and along with Bill Cawthorn and myself, visited the site. The following information is offered for review and determine the possibility of reconstruction of a bridge at this location. And there's a lot of history on this bridge. One says this, one says that, but I think we all agree that history indicates there was a wooden bridge similar to construction to the covered bridge at Big Red Oak Creek that provided a creek crossing at this location. Understand approximately 30 years ago that bridge was destroyed by fire. 15 to 20 years ago, and again this is what I've been told, Meriwether County received bridge I-beams from GDOT, and I think GDOT may have assisted in placing the beams across White Oak Creek at the former location of the wooden bridge. What you saw earlier was actually those I-beams. It doesn't appear that very little, if any, additional work has been done since that time that the beams were originally placed. The A section of I-beams, as I said earlier, approximately 3 feet high, they're about a foot wide, and approximately 90 feet long. And they actually have, based upon the review, they have more than enough strength to support a substantial bridge structure at that location. The beams would need to be bolted on one end. They were already bolted, but if we're going to work on it, I would suggest we bolt it again. The other end of the beams would need a slips connection onto the bridge support to allow for expansion, traction of the bridge and the beams. The bridge foundation was reviewed from underneath the beams. We crawled down and took a look at those. The foundation was a rock base with a concrete slab on top where the beams were attached. The opinion was from the GDOT that the bridge foundation was in good shape and would be fine for the support of a new structure. The I-beams would need to be properly spaced. They're not spaced properly now. They're just kind of laid out there. And they need to have cross bracing installed at 1/3 intervals between each beam for the length of the bridge. And there are 8 bridge beams, and they're approximately 90 feet long. There are a couple of bridge decking options that they had mentioned. One was just oak timbers with an approximate lifespan of 25 years, or a concrete deck, which would offer a much longer lifespan. The beams would need to be painted and maintained on a regular basis to prevent further deterioration from rust. There are 2 very old rock walls that I showed you guys pictures of earlier on the west side of the creek that likely once served as support for the bridge approach. If these are left intact, and again, they're probably the only remnants that I saw of history there, that would likely limit the approach from the west going toward the east to a 1-lane bridge. Otherwise, one of the walls at least would have to be moved. The new bridge would also require concrete end caps and wing walls on both ends. And due to the beams being in place, there was a good feeling that there would likely be no issues with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or the necessity for additional flood analysis. But that would have to be determined if we move forward with the project. While the bridge could certainly be reconstructed, the cost versus benefit would need to be considered. With the bridge construction, bridge approaches, necessary road work for bridge access, the cost of this would likely be substantial, very substantial. And after I talked to GDOT on this, I also called another well-known engineering group who have designed and constructed bridges, and they also agreed that the cost would be substantial to put the bridge back over the stream, because White Oak Creek is indeed a major drainage basin. In order to get a very close and defined cost estimate, of course, we would have to have some bridge design plans established, and that would include whether or not there had to be any involvement with the Corps of Engineers, etc. All that would have to be determined once we decided to move forward. The closest access to the bridge is from a paved road is through Beaver Lake Road, which I think still requires to travel approximately 2.5 miles along the dirt road to be able to reach the bridge. As I said earlier, there's approximately 2,500 to 3,000 feet of roadway access to the bridge from east and west lies within the 100-year floodplain. In terms of possible assistance from GDOT or other sources, I've been advised that funding for bridge improvements is very limited and is also very competitive. The information I received back is that this specific bridge project would likely not compete well against other projects with higher traffic counts. And of course, we're still looking to see if there's other additional funding sources available. We do have the option of using our LMIG allocation for the project, but no additional LMIG funds would be available over and above our current allocation. And based upon our 2020 LMIG allocation amount, it would take, a substantial portion of that, or, maybe as much as all of it, to be able to complete that project. And again, just an update on the bridge. The structure is fine, the beams are fine. It's just a costly project to be able to, to build.
Thank you, President.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board has.
That'll be fine. So we do have a question from the board, Commissioner Howell. When you said it would pretty much equal our LMIG, just for everybody for reference, our LMIG is $700-something thousand, plus our match is about $1 million.
That's right. It's $1,114,000. Yeah. And again, those figures sound substantial. It is a major basin, and when GDOT said you may be looking at that kind of dollars, I actually
some
called
idea
another
sort of
engineer.
what amount. I mean, I know it's not exact, but it sort of
Right.
gives you some idea of what kind of money they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to make a comment.
Okay.
Yes, GDOT did, and I understand they were the ones initially gave us the beams.
That was my understanding,
And they were
yes.
the ones so they have already helped to assist that bridge at some point in time.
That's
so
correct.
Understanding that you're being competitive now, but I also know there are other options as well other than GDOT. So thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
that with us. At
And-
this time, is there any other commissioner who has a question for?
Madam Chair, I do.
Go ahead.
What are you envisioning when you say bridge? What do you see here? I hear oak planking, I hear concrete. Are you just talking about a flat plane across there with,
Talking about a flat plane with rails, because I would not put just a flat plane across there. Your distance down to the creek, if it one, ran off, would be substantial.
you've got to put the safety features, that's true.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about. Not really going back and trying to build the structure that was originally there. Because I think that was all wood, rock, and I think it's, now, somewhere I heard that maybe there were some oak timbers that were available to try to help this, but they may have washed away in a flood of '94. I don't know whether that's factual or not, but somebody did mention that.
I have a question too, Madam Chair. I haven't been to the opposite side of that bridge, but on that particular side for the road closure, where does it come out on the other side if there were a bridge there? Does it come out in that subdivision?
It would eventually come out
Okay.
at that location. Now, understand, I have not personally been out there either, but some of our staff has, and understand this section down in here is pretty boggy, which, you would expect being in flood zone.
Come out the end of Oakland, then you'd be on Mount Carmel on the other end.
Well,
You
you'd
actually-
have to drive a ways to get them.
You actually,
You talking
Oakland
about
Road,
sale? Okay.
Oakland, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oakland Road actually runs into Mont Carmel Road, but before you get to Mont Carmel Road, there's Alexander Road and there's Robertson Road, which runs into Marble Road.
So if we built
So-
this road across, where would it come out, Mount Carmel?
Oakland Road can bring you into Mount Carmel Road. But also, as you come onto Oakland Road, there is Robinson Road, which comes off of Oakland Road, and Alexander Road also comes off of that road.
I think the road at the very top, that you can see maybe right there, is Alexander Road.
Which is, for whatever reason, is closed.
On this, wide view of the project.
Thank you. Any other commissioner have any questions? If not, at this time, those who have signed up to speak will have an opportunity to speak. We have a total of 6 opposing closing the road and 2 in favor. So each side get a total of 15 minutes, so those on the, and then you get 5 minutes rebuttal. So for those 6 people who are against closing the road, you have 2.5 minutes to speak. And those who are favoring, you have your entire 15 minutes in whichever way you want to do that.
I do think, understand Mr. Nally was going to be here tonight, and I do understand that Mr. Lumsden indicate he could not be here, but he did send documentation into our building zoning that Mr. Nally was going to be representing him tonight.
All right, so do we have someone representing that?
Nally's.
The Nallies? Okay, that's fine, that's fine. All right, so for those who in favor of having the road closed, that would be, is it Clay Nally?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other is Street?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, you can come up and address the board, please. Street Nally? Each one of you, a total altogether, you've got 15 minutes, so if you want to take the whole 15, or you want to split it with him, or whatever, whichever way you go, but you have 15 minutes.
Well, he's my big brother, so I'll try and figure out how to do that equally, so he won't hit me later, right? Good evening, everybody. I apologize for wearing a jacket. I was sitting under there, under the air conditioner over there, and I feel like I was kind of a little under the temperature, so excuse the jacket. But thank you all for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. Madam Chairperson, we really appreciate all y'all's time tonight and the effort that's gone into this. We're very excited to be in Meriwether County and have been paying taxpayers here for 20 years. And this is something that's important to us. And I think what's been stated before can't be overlooked, that the 9 statutes that are required to close a road, this one checks every box. And maybe most importantly, what it would cost to replace it would be substantial to the county as well. Roger Lumsden couldn't be here tonight, so we are speaking on behalf of him. He's one of the 3 landowners that's involved with us. And we also wanted to remind you guys that we are willing to work with the county to where, if this were to be approved, we would put in writing that if the county were to come back with the funds, that we would grant that be reopened to build the bridge. So that's really all I have for you tonight. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
I have a question for Jeff from the statement he just made, Madam Chair.
That's fine.
When you said that you would give us the right-of-way of the easement if we ever came back,
Yes, sir.
does that mean with right-of-way? I mean, does that include some?
Yes, you get to be able to get to the bridge. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, and we would be willing to put that in writing or on the deed, however you guys would like to have that recorded.
We'd like, if that is the case, we'd like to request that right would be 60 foot of right of way. If that's the case. 60 foot.
Thank you.
Does any other commissioner have any questions or comments for Mr. Allen? No, if not, thank you so much. And so, Mr. Clay?
I'm great.
Oh, that was Clay. All right, I'm sorry. So, the other Natalie brother, you want to speak? Street? You're good?
I'm okay.
You're fine? Okay, thank you. All right. The next on the list is Mr. Rawlinson, who is opposed for the closing. If this time you'd like to come up and speak, once again, you have 2.5 minutes.
Kenneth Rawlinson on Mount Carmel Road in Gay, Georgia. I just want to reiterate my commitment to the letter of intent that I gave to the board August 26, 2019, that my willingness to get the White Oak Creek Covered Bridge built and to provide funding for that purpose. And as I say in the letter, should Meriwether County Commission vote to keep open that portion of Oakland Road from Beaver Lakes Road to White Oak Creek, I, Kenneth Rawlinson, will contact my certified public accountant on the first business day following the commissioner's decision to keep the road open, and have that accountant create an IRS-approved funding account in accordance with IRS rules and regulations. Once that account is established, I will deposit $50,000 of my personal funds to begin the process of fundraising and reconstruction of the White Oak Creek Covered Bridge. That's all I have.
Any commissioners have any questions or comments?
Kenneth, you said covered bridge. You said covered bridge is what you just stated.
Okay?
Okay, we're not talking covered bridge at this point. But that's what you mean. If we build a covered bridge, That's what the 50,000 would go to.
If you build a throughway,
Okay. Sure.
you know, you don't have to cover it.
Okay.
You repair the bridge so it's an active road.
I was just listening to your statement, and you said cover bridge.
Well, I can redo this any way you want.
Okay, that's right. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that point.
The next person on the list is Mr. Jerry, is it Aglin? Anglin, all right, thank you, Mr. Anglin. And you are in opposition of having the road closed.
Yes, ma'am. Bruce O'Neill asked me to come by and give you my qualifications on how to build a bridge. My name is Jerry Anglin, and first of all, I got a degree, associate degree in civil engineering from Southern Tech Institute, and I worked for the Department of Transportation for 35 years. I built bridges all the way from on I-85 all the way from Fairburn, Georgia to the Alabama line. I built bridges in the Lindsay Creek bypass down in Columbus, Georgia. I built bridges all over Meriwether, Troup, and Heard counties on local roads, state routes, and things like that. And I built most of the bridges that are located across the backwater when they backed up the dam there in LaGrange, Georgia. So I think I've been out there on the site, and I believe you can build a bridge across forever. I would be against closing the road. Anybody have any questions for me, I feel free to try to answer for you.
Does anyone have any questions or any comments at this time? Commissioner Brown?
You think that bridge could be built for less than $1 million?
Yes, ma'am.
The next person on the list is Mr. Bruce O'Neill, and you are opposed to having the road closed, so you come up at this time.
I am. And that was the one that had the thumb drive, and I didn't know you had to get advance notice to show it. And all it is a bridge exactly like the one we want to build. It was built in Talbot County, I think you might know that. It's Tom Buffington Road. Everything's exactly the same except the length. This bridge in Talbot County, and I took some pictures of it. It's okay. I'll show him. And actually the specs on this bridge, DOT specs on the back pages of it. And our bridge will be 7 foot longer than that. The beams are exactly the same size. This bridge in Talbot County was reconstructed with 5 little 36-inch beams in it, and ours has 8. We really have more beams than what we needed to. We could put a walkway on either side of it. And I did volunteer my time to go over and supervise that and raise enough funds to do that. There's a few things that wasn't quite right, and I think it was unintentionally. On the north side of that bridge, it's a quarter mile to a paved road, Robertson Martin. On the north side of it, see if you hadn't been over, it's only a quarter mile to a paved road, which leads into Mount Carmel. There's about 40, what last count I had is 47 families that live over there, and it would give them another route back to 85 Highway of Gay, Georgia. This bridge was opened back up. And really the people in the valley wasn't done right. Let me tell y'all why the bridge wasn't ever finished. First thing, I helped put those beams in when I didn't work for the county. Mr. Carl Garner, which was chairman of the commission at that time, and Mr. George Washington, which was vice chairman, they led that process and put them beams out there, and they got me to help them put them out there years ago, 25 years ago. This bridge can be put back, and I happen to know that bridge y'all looking at was less than $50,000. I got that from a direct source. Yes, sir. And I think my time's about up, but I wish y'all would give us the opportunity to put that historical bridge back in service. It's very easily be done, but to give it away, it'll be forever. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. O'Neill? No, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. The next person on the list is Ms. Catherine Jenkins, and she is opposing the road to be closed.
Do I have any additional time? based on the fact, I don't think anybody actually officially yielded me the time, but,
I will yield if you need.
thank you.
Ms. Nancy Jones is yielding her time.
If she needs it.
So do I have a count as far as how much time I have?
That would be 5 minutes. Do you think you need the whole 5 minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Although based on the fact that I don't think anybody else used up their allotted times, may I use that time as well?
No. You have one other person.
Total of 10 minutes.
10 minutes left. So after she has hers,
No, counting right now.
so she has, so 10 minutes, so she has 5,
She has 136 right now.
We have 2 minutes left over from,
2.5 minutes.
2 minutes left over from the previous.
Okay, that's fine, 2 minutes, okay.
So the 2.5 from Ms. Nancy, plus another 2, that was not you. It wasn't you.
Well, you've got, okay,
So that would be 7.5 minutes. That's
well,
what
you,
I was-
okay, one second, everybody. The next person on the list to speak is Freddie Hines, and then Nancy Jones was the second. So each one of them had 2.5 minutes. So if Ms. Jones is giving up her 2.5 minutes, that gives her 5 minutes.
Right. I will leave you.
All right, so Mr. Hines said he only needs a minute, so he will give you an additional minute and a half.
So that would be 6.5 minutes.
That gives you 6.5 minutes.
All right. Thank you. Commissioners, I'm here today because this is a very important thing for me. The fact that we are looking at closing down something that is on the National Register is a historic place. And the fact that we are considering it, giving it away, is just abhorrent. I know most of you have at least looked at Facebook. And I represent a lot of people that are really surprised. As a new resident, as I mentioned earlier, I've been in this county about 4 years. But I actually live in this county. I live on a dirt road. I live on a road that has a bridge that is at very least questionable, especially so after a hard rain. But I have trash on that road right now. I think there is a decomposing air hockey piece. There was a dumped deer carcass out earlier. I think the buzzards have cleaned it up. And hopefully I don't have to take my dogs back to the vet to have their stomach, to get antibiotics for their stomach because they've been eating stuff they shouldn't. But to get off topic, I've seen a lot of legal terms being thrown around, and I feel that it's not been given the full amount of introspection that it needs. So for one, I've heard the term a prescriptive easement. So a prescriptive easement is one way to acquire roads. There are 4 ways. 1, prescriptive easement. 2, there's dedication, there's a legislative action, and then there's formal proceedings. Now, the legislative action and the formal proceedings are what you're going to see with highways. But when you're looking at a prescriptive easement, you're looking at the current use of a road. And what we're doing and what we propose in keeping this road system here is not going to change. It's going to stay the same, roughly the same. We're not trying to put in a 4-lane highway, so having a prescriptive easement should have no impact on whether, on anything that this board would like to do. Next, there is a presumption that the county owns the land that the bridge is on. So if we give that up, we are giving up actual ownership, not prescriptive easement ownership. And a public road is a thoroughfare, which is used by the public as a matter of right. That is Southern Company v. Combs. That's from 1906, because that, let me just reiterate, matter of right by the public. That means that it is a public right to use this road. So giving it up is something that we should look very hard at. The additional terms that have been put on by this county in the county ordinance concerning the abandonment of the road, I think have been put in and are incomplete. They do not take into consideration the social utility that is congruent with land use in this country. Land use, social utility, which means that if the public has a use for it, and we're talking about access to a large creek, we're talking about access to that allows people to fish, that allows people to kayak, and they can go all over, that you can get on the Flint River from this creek. So I just want to make sure that we understand that this is a public road. And the other part is that the use of the road. I've heard it said many times that the actual condition of the road is poor. Well, commissioners, I'm sorry to say, but this is the responsibility of this governing board. The responsibility of government is to maintain the roads. That is what we pay taxes for, one of the many reasons. And the expense of the road is not contingent on whether we actually make money on this road. That road should exist for public use. So whether there is a LMIG, whether there are other sources, and I feel that Mr. Gay has not found all the sources that are available. I've found nearly 30 that are funded through grants and foundations for historic preservation. And of all the things out there, I would say that this, a bridge that was built by a former slave, is something that we should preserve. If not the bridge itself, we can have a plaque, we can have something, but we can have that bridge. So another thing is cost. So we've heard this, that the cost of maintaining the roads is a big part of why we need to give it up if we can't afford it. But what I understand is that we also had a tax decrease, or I should say we should have a reduction in our millage rate. And that is something that I just don't understand. So if we have a reduction in our millage rate and we're paying less in taxes, but we can't afford to keep our roads, I think there's a problem. Roads cost money. We know that. We don't live on toll roads. It's part of the price of being a citizen and a taxpayer. So I feel that we need to look at this again. We have heard that we have somebody that can build this road, an engineer, a retired, someone who has built multiple roads. We have somebody that said they will pay for it. My husband has a hydraulic timber, he can cut the wood. So we just need to make this happen. We have the will for this, and we have public support. And as far as the substantial public purpose, what more do we want? So I yield the rest of my time.
Any commissioners have any questions or statements to Ms. Jenkins?
I actually do. There's one part, and I do believe that I know that it's on the National Register, and I did do some research on it. There's actually nothing that shows, except Wikipedia, that it was Mr. King himself that did it. But I do believe it was built by one of his sons. And what I read was in 1880, when the bridge was built, Mr. King only lived to be about 4 years after. But his son John and George were the building of structures that he was doing. And it did indicate that they had built structures South Atlanta and down. So I do believe that one of the Kings built it, but I do believe that it was probably one of his sons that built it, just based on the time.
Well, do you believe what the Historic Register put on record?
It was just for me to make a statement.
Okay, well, I just wanted you to know that there is an actual application. It has been approved. It was approved in 1973.
No, I saw that.
And it does have the history. It does say that they likely believe that it was built by Horace King. That is in the application and the approval.
Okay, thank you.
I ask if you say that I am incorrect, that you actually do check this out or allow me to come back with proof, because I can find it.
It was open for me to make a statement. You made your statements, I made mine, so thank you.
You made a factual statement, and I'm correcting it.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any other statements at this time? Not, we want to thank you for sharing your information.
Thank you.
And how much time did she have left? There was no time left. Okay. All right. The next person on the list to speak is Mr. Fred Hines, and he's in opposing of having the road.
15 seconds.
You got a minute. You got a minute.
I'm not a preacher, but I just listen to you saying that. I just want to say a couple of things, and this issue came up when I was commissioner at the time, and I think it's been up to the other time. So there's no reason to close this road. Man, it's not that. I did some research also when it came up when I was commissioner, and I asked why it was never reestablished, especially since the state gave us the beam. And I was told that it intentionally not reestablished. Now, it's a long history. I won't go into that, but it's not the citizen's fault that this bridge will not reestablished. I think we'd be doing a disservice if we close this bridge. Now, I think it's an opportunity now for not to divide this county, because if you vote to close this bridge, you're going to divide the county just like the landfill did, because it's the north and south. We have one bridge on one side of the area, and then we want to restore this bridge. Give the citizens an opportunity. I'll be willing to work with anyone to restore the bridge, find funding. If we can't, then close the bridge. But I don't think you should close the bridge just because of the structure around it, because it's not the citizen's fault. Like, you know, it's not bad on the commissioners, but it is the county responsibility to take care of the bridge, the road up to the bridge. So I think you really think seriously about not dividing this county again. I've seen it once before, and we don't need that again. I think that you give the citizen an opportunity to restore this bridge, or else, then you can close it. But it's not the citizen's fault that the bridge is not reestablished. It came on the commissioner, and I was one of the commissioners back in the day. But I asked, and they gave me the history, and we all know the history of fire was not reestablished. So thank you.
Thank you. Brady, how long ago was it? I forgot when you were a commissioner.
2006. 2006.
It goes back further than that, Commissioner.
Yeah, I was asking when he was on there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Was there any time left?
Yes, about a minute and a half.
Got a minute and a half. Ms. Jones, you want to take the floor since you're willing to waive your time? We appreciate that.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate this opportunity to speak just a second. Just to clarify the record on the application that was approved in 1973, it says the White Oak Creek Covered Bridge, one of Georgia's 22 remaining covered bridges, is of the long truss type, built circa 1880. It is attributed to Georgia's most famous bridge builder, Horace King. The actual builder of White Oak Creek Covered Bridge was probably Horace King. File of record, and this is the original documents. And I just want to say that I have been right where you all are several times when it comes down to closing roads. And it's not an easy decision, but I want you to think about this. We've closed some roads that we've regretted that we did that. And we need to think long and hard that when we close it, we give up all rights. I know you heard that he will give back the right of way, or he will give whatever is needed if we get the money or do whatever to open it back up. That's a big if. So I'm saying to you all, you need to think about what the long-term ramification of this, the length of the roadway that is being given up, and the amount of money that is potentially in this amount of acreage in that 1.7 miles of land. Thank you very much.
I do want to say something, and thank you for bringing that, because the part, and I want Catherine to know too, the part that I saw that didn't have that on there, that's why I went further to look, and I couldn't find the definitive. So that's when I started looking at his sons that had started building, and I figured that it may be there. But I couldn't see that part on that when I looked online, so I didn't have that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I didn't see that, that's why I went back and looked further, but I did believe that one of them was built.
So we've reached our maximum time for people to speak regarding this matter, for those that were for it or against it. But we do have 5 minutes of rebuttal time for each side, so if either Mr. Nally would like to come and do a rebuttal, if you do have that opportunity to do it. If not, let us know at this time.
Madam Chair and the Board of Commissioners, thank you. I just want to bring up real quick something that has not been said. We've owned this piece of property for 2 years. And in 2 years, I have seen where this bridge is underwater. And I'm not talking about kind of underwater. I'm talking about underwater. Feet underwater where this bridge is. And I understand, you know, that technology today can take care of a lot of things, but it's going to have to be substantially built up to be a long-term situation. This bridge has also been out, if I'm not mistaken, 34 years. And as we said before, we will certainly agree to let the county, and we'll obviously put it in writing. If people want to reopen the bridge, we can certainly do that. I do want to bring something up. I keep hearing easement. We checked with attorneys, real estate attorneys in Atlanta, and I'm not for sure on this, but I did want to get it clear if possible. Weren't these roads originally granted from the landowners or given to the county as an easement from the landowner?
Usually on a prescriptive right of way, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you would, usually what happens with a prescriptive right of way, it's actually owned by the property owners on the other side. The county, though, through years of use, has granted a right of egress and egress through that. So when the county gives up prescriptive right of way, we're just giving up the right of use on that. We don't have a warranty deed that we issue. We don't have, we just have to claim our interest in it. So, yeah, it's generally this property that was owned at one time by the property.
Right, okay. Thank you for your time. We would certainly appreciate your consideration.
Right. For those who were on the side that's opposing to road be closed, I don't know if you want to designate someone to speak on your behalf, but there is still 5 minutes to have a rebuttal or opposing.
Madam Chair, Mr. Clay now, or Mr. Street now, is that Mr. Clay? Street. No, Mr. Street.
I'll use up the remainder of the time, what you come with.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I think, yeah, but,
If you give me a little bit.
Come on, get your first.
Please speak, hold up,
Commissioners, I wanted to touch on the agreement from what I heard that was put on as far as giving the deed back, or I'm not even sure the specifics on what was agreed to, or if something has been agreed to in writing concerning if we abandon this road, and that the petitioners will then put it in the deed, that they will give it back to us contingent on funding. Well, Commissioners, that's a fairy tale. We'll never get it back. The ability to get funding, the ability, and the other part of that is that Mr. Gay has made it very clear that the roads, to be approved, to be brought back into the Meriwether County road system, must be brought up to the standard. And we're talking about miles of road, or 1.7 if we're just talking about the road, and I'm talking about the covered bridge road, or also known as the short end of Oakland, I believe. It actually does have a name. It's not just this portion of an unused land. It's an actual road that has existed for 200 years or more. And there is nothing, and there is an attorney here that can correct me, but there is nothing to prevent him from saying, nope, I want to keep it, it's mine, it's his, it's legally his. He has no obligation to give it back. So that's the history of that bridge, gone forever. So I would just, again, ask, because after this is over with, all of us are going to have to look at ourselves, and you're going to have to look at your constituents, and you're going to have to explain why you took some history from the people that live here.
How many more? Mr. O'Neill, there are 3 minutes left, whoever wants to speak.
Anybody else? A while back at one of the other meetings, we had a petition from that area 260-something names on that petition did not want that road closed, and that's the people that live mostly on the north side of the bridge. And I think the commissioners really need to look at that 260-something names, because nobody went around and twisted them people's arms to sign that paper. They really want another route out of what they call Martinville, back toward Gay and Oakland, Woodbury, Ingalls, and all of that, which would be half the distance of going the rest of the way around Mount Carmel. And I think we're making a big mistake if we close that bridge. And the statement I made about what the bridge in Talbot County cost, I know is factual. I went down there and spent all day with the old commissioners and everybody in the courthouse down there, and the police chief and the public works director. I talked to all of them. They built it mostly in-house themselves because they got two bids that was very high. And those bids was $300,000 and $350,000, and one of them was $400,000. They said, we're not gonna do that, we'll build it in-house ourselves. They did hire a contractor to pour a little cement on one end that would run the cost up. But the numbers I got was $50,000 or less.
When was that?
That was day before yesterday.
When did they build it?
2010.
Built in 2010?
Right.
I mean,
And I know what I'm talking about.
engineering
Those numbers are exaggerated severely.
The road itself, and I think Bruce and others, when you go up to the approach to the
No offense,
beach.
Mr. Gay, are you taking his time? Because we
I
can come back. You can come back. I mean, he's giving me that look.
I don't want to take his
Yeah, don't take his time. You can come back and share. All right, go ahead.
There's not much I can say, because I think most of the commissioners already made their mind up how they're gonna vote before we go before this. Please take under consideration that they elected to these posts to look after the general public's business. And please consider that when you vote on it, because there's a lot of people, 260-some people, that do not want this road closed. And I think it would be a big excess. There's thousands and thousands of acres down White Oak Creek, Flint River. Someday we're gonna have to have, and that's the only road in that area anywhere other than Mount Carmel, which is 3.5, 4 miles behind the woods. Okay, we got 30 seconds. Please consider all this, consider these 260-something people, before you give this road away. Like the lady said, you give it away, it's gone forever. Give us a chance to build that bridge back down there, and it won't hurt them in one bit in the deer hunting, and the turkey hunting, and all they got going on down there. It'd be just a through road there, and they still could govern everything on both sides of it. Do what's right, please don't close the road.
All right.
Is there any time left?
No. And once again, I want to thank everyone for coming up and speaking and sharing your thoughts and just letting us know as a board where you stand on this, and we appreciate it because we need to hear from you, and we appreciate that. At this time, I want to officially give respect to you, Ms. Beverly.
There are a couple of recommendations from staff before you guys make your decision of this.
I thought that's what you gave us earlier.
No, this was a couple of just recommendations. I don't know which way the board's going to go. I don't get a vote on it. But this was recommendations of conditions in enclosure, double closure. And I can share that with the board. I was going to do it earlier, but we went ahead and called it the people. It's just a couple of things. My issue is and I don't get a vote, and I don't really care either way. But if the road is abandoned, I would recommend that, I don't care either way. If the road is abandoned, I would recommend that the county keep at least a 300-foot area right here and not give up the bridge beams. Those need to be retained by the county. If the road is left open, then I would suggest we go in and we put some barricades here and we put some no trespassing signs up, just for the county's protection. That's my only recommendation. Again, I do not get a vote from staff.
Thank you. All right. At this time, unless some commissioners have any other comments, I'm gonna ask for a vote that we come out of public hearing.
Second.
All right. So there's been a motion by Commissioner Hadley and second by Commissioner Threadgill to come out of public hearing. I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carried. We are now out of public hearing. So at this time, I need a motion on the floor.
May I say something?
We need to have a motion, and then we can have a discussion. I think that's right. Is that right? I'm sorry?
That's correct.
That's right. So we have to do a motion first, and then after that, we can go into discussion. So after that, Commissioner Fairfield, we'd be glad to have you have your discussion. All right, is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Chair, I motion that we keep the room open.
So there's been a motion by Commissioner Bray and second by Commissioner Hadley that we keep the road open.
So they're gonna come in.
So at this time, I'd like to have it open for discussion. I'm following protocol.
I'm trying.
So at this time, we're open for discussion and Commissioner Threadgill at this time would like to speak. Commissioner Threadgill, you have the floor.
Thank you. What I want to say is the reason that we came back to this tonight is because I did make a motion that we do this so that we can come back and look at everything and that we can see if the Georgia Department of Transportation would actually give us the funds to do this. It's obvious that they can't, but to me, other things have come forward that I do think we have to look at for citizens of this county. And I'm thankful that those things have come forward for us to look at. But I did want to reiterate that the reason we're back here tonight is because I did make that motion. We did get the determination from GDOT that it would be substantial. And I just want to say to everybody here tonight, thank you for coming and thank you for supporting Meriwether County. And that's to everybody, but that's it, sir.
Any other commissioner would like to make a comment? Commissioner Hadley?
I want to say that even if for some reason we cannot build that bridge back, I think it's an area we need to preserve for our county. And a pedestrian bridge where you can fish off of it, or you put a kayak in there and you go down to the WMA, and from the WMA on down to the Flint River, or whatever. So hopefully the bridge can be built, and I hope the ones that have expressed the interest in really making that happen. I think I've also seen people volunteering to go down to clean up and clean out and all that, and I hope all that's true. Because all of you know what kind of job we have on our roads that we're using every day. So I hope that is the case, but I do think it's an area that needs to be preserved. And I know maybe the road's not serving as a purpose right now, but like was mentioned, that's because we haven't kept it up, because you couldn't go across. I mean, I understand. I'm sure there's reasons for boards previous to us as to why they did certain things, but I think we have an opportunity to preserve it and use it for something for the county. Like I said, even if it's a place to go out there and fish and relax and enjoy the peace and quiet. Hopefully the bridge could be redone, but I think that's going to have to be left up to a lot of volunteers and donors to help get that done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Because I would like to make a comment. Commissioner,
Yes, I'd like to applaud all the citizens for coming out, and I had an opportunity to go down to that bridge and both sides. And I could visualize things that, I know it's a mess right now, but if we took the time and the volunteers and people helped, that would be a great place. And, I even imagine myself throwing the rod over there. But nevertheless, that is a part of history that I would not like to see destroyed or concealed for the purpose of owners or whoever. I mean, it is a through road, and I envision it as being a great place and a history place for Meriwether County. And also, I understand that bikers sometimes go down through that road right now. And also, people just go and visit the bridge. So for us to throw it away would be a total disgrace. Thank you.
I too would like to make a comment. And once again, I want to thank the citizens for coming out and voicing your concerns and sharing. I too had an opportunity to go and visit the area maybe a year or so ago. And then I had an opportunity to do it again this past week. And I will say that it was a very emotional thing for me because there's so much history there. Not just the bridge alone. To know that Oakland Road is one of the premier roads in this county. That this road existed in 1880. This road was part of the stagecoach, used this road to get, it was part of how people got from, after I did some research and study, from Columbus, Georgia to Griffin. So it has served history in this county, and And someone shared with me this book. It says Historical Account of Meriwether County from 1827 to 1974. And in there, it talks about this bridge. It talks about the community. It talks about how this was a part of Meriwether history. And I feel that if we close this, we're closing part of Meriwether history. And history in Meriwether County is very good. It is what attracts people here. It brings tourism here. And we're very fortunate. At one time, there were 4 covered bridges in this county. 2 of them were built by Horace King. And we're fortunate to still have one standing today, the Red Oak Bridge. And people take pictures of it and visit it all the time. And even the county is promoting it as a tourism spot. Just received a flyer of an event that's going to happen on November the 2nd at this beautiful site. Unfortunately, the White Oak Covered Bridge burned. I do believe that if it hadn't burned, it would probably be standing today just like the Red Oak Bridge. Because the work and the craftsmanship that went into building those bridges have sustained itself for years, centuries. But unfortunately, it's not there as a covered bridge, but it is there. And I think it is to our good stewardship to allow the next generation to also experience it like we've had a chance to experience it. So once again, those are my thoughts. And I would like to know that when history is written again, that in the history book, it will still be open for other generations to enjoy. So those are my thoughts.
And I say one more thing before we close. No matter what the vote is tonight, I do think that we as a board probably need to do some type of history marker there, no matter what, to recognize it for what it is, was and what it is today, so that we don't lose that at any given point in Meriwether County history.
I agree with that. All right, Commissioner McCoy, did you have anything to say?
No, I think about all of it's been said. I have listened here to a lot that's taken place. And I guess I go back and look at the practical side. What I remember for the covered bridge there, it actually became pretty much a dump there at one time. People would literally keep it kicking the boards off the side. They would drive onto that bridge. They would unload furniture, washing machines, you name it, were dumped off there down into the creek. So this is going to become a point we're going to have to keep an eye on no matter which way this vote goes.
All right, so there's been a motion by Commissioner Bray to keep the road open, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Hadley. We've had discussion. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote that the road remains open. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So Oakland Road stays open. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business, appointment to the complete count census 2020.
Madam Chair, that's my district, and I do have a nomination of Sharon Cuddington. She has agreed to serve. Very glad to send you her information.
It's been marked up and written, I better ready.
I'll second.
All right, so there's been a motion by Commissioner Hadley and a second by Commissioner Threadgill. Is there any discussion? If not, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now I have a question. I'm sorry. I'll go back to it. All right. Moving on, new business. This is the confirmation of the grant loan application resolution in support of the State Road and Tollway Authority. This is Mr. Gay. At this time, would you give us more update on this?
Yes, ma'am. This is required as part of the application process to the State Road and Tollway Authority. This is for County Line Road, the road and bridge project. We completed that grant application last week. The dollars here that we listed was requested a $450,000 grant, $150,000 loan.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to hear, and I know sometimes when we have these side conversations, we can't hear. So, and our clerk is taking notes. So please be mindful that we want to hear what everybody has to say. Mr. Theron?
Yes, ma'am. Anyway, the application was for assistance with the County Line Road and Bridge Improvement Project. As all of you know, this road leads into the back of the Meriwether County Industrial Park, so it qualifies for potential funding on a lot of basis. And what we've done is this resolution is just, basically saying the board is in agreement with this application, and of course, any final conditions of if we loan or get the grant, we'll have to come back for you guys for final review of documentation. So we recommend approval.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Gay in reference to this? I do want to say this. Thank you, Mr. Gay, and to your staff in putting this together. It was a short turnaround time, but they beat the deadline, so I thank you all. Once again, there's so many opportunities, and sometimes we have such a short window, and really, if there's anyone in the community that are grant writers that would like to devote some of their time in helping us, we would appreciate it. But this is, I just want to say that there are a lot of resources, but it's very competitive, and hopefully we are able to get this. And as I mentioned at another meeting, in that area off of 85, there's been so much traffic, and this past weekend was another bad accident on Interstate 85. I'm not sure whether it started at the Granville exit, but it was traffic backed up all the way past LaGrange. A lot of detouring. And once again, that detour was on 54 because they were having the Hummingbird Festival, so they shut down 29. There wasn't enough traffic through there, which means, once again, we have people coming through our county, a lot of traffic. So we're going to have to look at making sure that those roads, those areas that's going to be heavily more traveled, that we can look at all possible resources to address that. So thank you for the hard work that you put into that and your staff. And I feel very confident that we'll get it.
We appreciate it. We did work pretty hard to get that done in a very short period of time.
Short period of time.
It's because we care about this county.
Yeah.
There's a reason we do that.
And we appreciate it, and I appreciate it. And I would say to the board and to citizens, if you're aware of programs or funding opportunities that's out there, please share it with us. We may not be able to take advantage of one all the time, but at least if we know what's out there, we can start planning for it ahead of time. So this is one that doesn't come around a lot, but how much did you say it has? Got it.
We can apply again next year.
We asked for 600.
Yeah. But I think, what was the total amount of
It was phenomenal. They had a lot, but they spread around. But
They're going to spread around. But thank you once again. So at this time, we just need a vote to go ahead and sign
Approve the resolution. And I redid the map today, labeled everything on that with a aerial photograph that I think Skip helped me produce that will show the project limits and everything associated.
All right, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to get a motion on the floor for the resolution.
Second.
Okay, so there's been a motion by Commissioner Threadgill and second by Commissioner Hadley. At this time, is there any discussion, any more discussion on this? If not, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is from the Finance Department, and unfortunately, Mr. Beal is not here tonight. We would like to keep him in our prayers and thoughts. He lost his brother, was it over the weekend? I think it's Saturday evening. So we ask that everyone lift him up in prayer. This is probably a very difficult time for him because he just recently lost his mother. So we want to keep him in our thoughts and prayers. So we'll move on to that. We can get the report a little bit later. Report from our county administrator, Mr. Gay.
Madam Chairman, I really don't have any report tonight. You guys can ask and look at the things. I'll bring all the reports next week.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're moving on. Report from our county commissioner, Commissioner Threadgill.
I don't have anything. I'm hoping to get out here before 2 hours.
Commissioner Gray.
I don't have anything.
I'm going to skip over because I have some.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner McCoy?
Madam Chairman, I have about 3 items I want to touch on just briefly. Down at the airport, the air show came off this on Sunday because it was rained out on Saturday, but Traeger Boy did a good job of pulling that together. And Phil Everly did have a booth that was there to give somebody the concept of what the airport will eventually look like. We had all the drawings there, and that drew a few folks over to look at it. One thing I would like to read that was sent to us, and I thought it was very kind, from a donation we made earlier, and it was actually a budget item from Jennifer Corsione. She said, Commissioners, just a note to say thank you for the donation to the county. We've already leveraged the funds by securing a donation from Wells Fargo for financial literacy classes in Meriwether County. Please extend our gratitude to all. We'll be back to report on our services in a few months. Meriwether constituents will surely benefit from the new programs. So I think that was turned around very nicely. That signed Jennifer Porcione. The other thing I was going to mention, Veterans Day is coming off November the 11th, and the service will be there at 11 a.m. at the United Methodist Church. And they're going to have a special speaker down there, Commissioner Monique Seafried will be speaking to us, and she's actually on a very prestigious board, the World War I Centennial Board, so we're all looking forward to that. With that being said, that's all I've got.
Thank you. I do want to share with the board and with the citizens, this past week, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs had their fall conference, and it was held at the Great Wolf Lodge, which was great. We didn't have to travel far to go to it, but I did attend. And DCA, for those who are not familiar with them, do provide a lot of good service and resources to counties and municipalities. They had several different work sessions around broadband initiative, resource around housing. They also had something regarding access to capital in rural Georgia, and they talked about the community block grant. One of the other things they talked about, and I don't know if we have addressed this yet in our county, is the short-term rentals for the BRBOs. And so they are really encouraging counties and cities to look at your ordinance and make sure that you have something in place to that, because a lot of people do rent out their homes and things of that nature. And so that was an Airbnb, right. And so once again, that was that. But I think what I got out of this the most was this is a state organization that is really here to help our community grow and be a resource to us. So we have a really good representative in Region 4, but once again, there's opportunities for us to build better partnership and collaboration so that we can get a lot more done. So I think a lot of good information was provided. So just thank you for the opportunity, and I will share with any commissioners more information about that, or put the information in your box if you would like it. Also received an email from ACCG. They want to recognize any commissioner that has served in the military, and we just need to provide them with that information so they can recognize you in their bulletin. So unfortunately, I know I haven't. I think Commissioner McCoy, you have served in the military?
Yes, ma'am.
So 4 years. So we want to make sure that Meriwether is recognized, and so it's wonderful that they want to acknowledge that. So I have got to use it. Did I ask?
No, military wasn't ready for me.
And then, we assume there's ladies who have served in the military as well. I am a military brat. I mean, my parents were in the military, but unfortunately I didn't serve. But we do want to thank those who have served in the military, and we appreciate your service. So that's it for me. I'm getting there, Commissioner Treadwell. Okay. Report from our county attorney. Do
I have no report.
Okay. That means you have no need for an executive
I don't
session.
believe there's need for executive session either. We're trying to preserve those, I think, for meetings as well.
We will let Mr. Nate know that. All right. At this time, public comments. This is the opportunity for the citizens to come up and share your comments or your concerns that you may have. This is your opportunity to do this, so feel free to come up if you want to share anything.
Nancy O'Neill can sign up.
Okay, once again, you have to sign your name. This goes to our records.
Miss Nancy O'Neill has signed up.
I'm sorry?
Miss Nancy O'Neill has signed up to speak.
Okay, so. Okay.
But I just want to say thank you. I feel that just in speaking with a lot of people in this county, that there's a fire now. There's some motivation to get things off the ground, to get some projects, and I feel that we can do that. I feel that this commission, we're going to be going forward building bridges instead of closing roads, and I think that's big for this county. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. There is no need for an executive session. So therefore, the future meetings and notices, on October the 29th at 6 p.m., we have another rezoning request, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. And then on November the 13th, that's our regular morning meeting at 9 a.m. November the 26th is a work session at 4:30. And then on November the 26th at 6 o'clock is our regular 6 p.m. meeting. The office will be closed November the 28th and the 29th in recognition of Thanksgiving holidays.
Not yet, coming up pretty soon though. Probably on Monday. Usually do them.
It's Thanksgiving.
28th.
Oh, I mean the 28th, okay.
Last Thursday.
So the 26th. Isn't there one meeting where we don't meet?
That's the last meeting in December.
Okay, two. All right, if nothing else, I'd like to ask for a motion that we close our meeting. Is there a second? There's been a motion by Commissioner Threadgill and a second by Commissioner Gray. At this time, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.